Welcome to Catholic Drive Time. This is your host, Adrian Fonseca. It's so good to be on with you today. Praise be to God. Joining us right now is Eduardo Verástegui. He's the founder of Metanoia Production Company and the producer of Sound of Freedom. Just to try to get straight to the point, Sound of Freedom is an amazing story about an agent who was investigating a lot of these pedophilic rings and trying to rescue a lot of these children who are being kidnapped. And I was watching this movie and it just absolutely broke my heart. Eduardo, how did you get exposed to the story to begin with, and what compelled you to turn it into a film?
Well, I met Tim Ballard 8 years ago, and when I learned what they were doing, him and his friends, ex-Navy SEALs, ex-CIA agents, these guys were traveling around the world undercover, rescuing children that were kidnapped for sexual exploitation. When they explained to me in details what these children are going through, all the pain, I was very inspired in one hand to see these American heroes sacrificing everything to save children, but in the other hand, I was depressed. It was very, very sad. It was horrible. I couldn't sleep for days. And Tim Ballard looked at me and he said, Eduardo, is very sad. What we told you, of course, is horrible. But you know what, man? It's more sad now that you know it if you do nothing. If you do nothing, what are you going to do? And right there, I knew that a new mission was about to give birth in my life. And that's what happened. I asked myself, what can I do? What can I do? Well, I have a weapon of mass instruction and inspiration. Film, movies can move people. Media influence how people think. And there's a lot of people, millions of people, that they don't even know that this problem exists. So how can you become a part of the solution if you don't even know that this problem exists in the first place? So then I realized that I had to put pause in every single other project that I was involved so I can dedicate my entire life to end child trafficking. And I committed to Tim Ballard. I committed to this mission. I invited Alejandro Monteverde, my business partner, who is the writer of this script, and he's the director of this film. I'm the producer. And both of us, we started this dream of making this powerful film, with the hope that when people see this movie, they will leave the theater not only entertained, but hopefully they will leave the theater, asking the same question that I asked myself 8 years ago: what can I do? And everyone has talents, gifts that God gave them. And if everyone asks themselves and asks God, what can I do to end this nightmare? Because God's children are not for sale. I believe that together we can end this horrible reality.
No, it's so interesting you say that. I was immediately thinking about the pro-life movement, and when people were exposed to the reality of abortion for the first time, it lit a fire underneath people, and people were willing to barricade their bodies against abortion clinics. People were willing to dedicate their lives to ending this mass genocide of our children. And I think that your film, because I'm going to be honest, I had to stop the film multiple times while watching it just because of how emotional it was. It was so real that I think that this film will actually inspire so many people and will be a catalyst to begin a sort of a pro-life movement with the sex trafficking ring. What do you think the result of this film will be, and what can your average person do to assist?
Well, as you said, pro-lifers. I'm a pro-life, and sometimes we have been false accused that we only care about the babies in the womb, and of course, they're the most vulnerable ones, right? That's the most important fundamental right, the right to life, the right to be born. Because if you don't born, you cannot enjoy any other rights. So first, we need to be born, right? But we don't stop there. We don't stop there. Being pro-life means to take care of those kids who are living in the streets, homeless. Being pro-life means to take care of those victims of, children who are victims of child trafficking. We need to be there. So that's why this film is a pro-life film too. Being pro-life means to take care of those who are suffering from addictions, teenagers who are dying. We need to be there too. Being pro-life means to take care of those who were false accused and they're in prison and they're innocent. Imagine, just put yourself in their shoes. So every life matters. Every life matters. And that's why when I met these guys and I learned about what's going on with this horrible global problem, because it's a global problem, especially US and Mexico. US is the #1 consumer of child sex in the world, and Mexico is the #1 provider. I'm from Mexico. I love Mexico. I love United States. So only through a bilateral effort, I believe that we will end this horrible reality. I asked Tim Ballard, how come if the most important, if the one of the most important countries, most powerful countries in the world, United States, you guys have money, you guys have the intelligence, the army, the technology, everything. How come we don't finish this problem? And he said, because it's not a priority.
Mm.
And Eduardo, I am not the solution. I can be the solution to save one child. Of course, you save one child, you save the world. I can be the solution to, 2, 3,000, 4,000 kids. We're talking about millions of children that are kidnapped for sexual exploitation. These kids are being raped 10 to 15 times a day for many years. And then later they go into the second business, organs traffic. They open them and they sell their organs.
Wow.
So we need a movement. We need a movement that can put pressure in the government so they can wake up, they can react, and that's what we're trying to do. That's why I believe that this film is more than a film. It is a movement, movie to movement. And my hope that when people see this movie, they, people have this tendency to imitate art, right? So I hope that if they want to imitate something, they will imitate Tim Ballard.
Amen.
He's a true American hero. And I hope that people will be wanting to be more like him, and say, hopefully they will say these words, not on my watch. Enough is enough. What if this is my child? What if this is my son, my daughter? What would I do? What would I do? I will stop everything that I'm doing. I will hope the entire world will stop everything they're doing so they can help me to find my child. Well, that's my motivation. I wake up every day thinking, what if this is my son? What if this is my daughter? Okay, so don't wait for this tragedy to come to you to wake up. As you have said, you see the film and it was like, wow, it's just a film. Imagine if that happens to you. That's
that
a tragedy.
So true.
So that's why it's so important for us to go and see this film. It's been 8 years of my life, 8 years of Alejandro Monteverde's life, 8 years of Tim Ballard working in this project for 2 hours of your time, which is what the movie lasts, and I hope this movie will touch your heart. I hope this film will touch millions of hearts. We are right now number one in pre-sales movies, competing with Disney. As you know, Disney is a big Goliath. Disney is trying to corrupt your children.
Amen.
Sound of Freedom is trying to save your children. So this is like Goliath and David. We know the end of the story. We know who wins. Well, the only way how we can win is only if we all become one David, you and me and everyone that is going to see this film. I hope millions of people will go and see this film. And then if we become one David, we know how the story ends. We will win, because
I know
God's
that
children are not for sale.
God's children are not for sale. I think that's a great catchphrase, because that it really shows like what are we fighting for? It's not simply just trying to help people, but these are God's children, and we are called to be stewards of God's creation. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to see people rise up and want to fight for God's children. Now, I don't want to spoil the movie for anybody, because I really think that people should watch this movie. At the very, very least, maybe it'll help you to be able to say, I'm gonna need to watch my kids more carefully so that they don't fall into these kind of things, so I can be able to make sure that they don't get kidnapped, they don't fall into this. But hopefully it causes them to further action than that. But can you share with me some story that it's not in the film that you heard about from Tim Ballard, or perhaps you've met any of these victims in real life?
Oh, wow, man. I can write a book about there's so many stories. But you know what? Actually, let me tell you this one. This movie has already saved many children, and the movie hasn't even come out yet. When I asked Tim Ballard, who do you want to play you? When the script was finished, and he said, what do you mean? Yes. Who do you want to play you? And he said, Jesus Christ. Come on, man, this is impossible. I thought he went crazy a little bit. I said, no, I'm talking about the guy who plays Jesus Christ in The Passion of Christ that Mel Gibson directed. Oh, you're talking about Jim Caviezel. Yes, okay. So I text Jim Caviezel. I sent him a text message, and I thought he was going to respond, like the typical Hollywood actor, send the script to my manager, my agent. I mean, that's the standard, right? He answered me right away, and he said, let's meet tonight. So Alejandro Monteverde and I, we went to meet with him, and we pitched the story to him. He started crying. He said, this is more personal to me than what you think. I mean, that's it. Send me the script. So, but the next day he calls me and he tells me, Eduardo, I read the script. I love the script. I love the story. I want to be part of this army. But I have one challenge. My wife saw Narcos Colombia on Netflix. And she's like, she's not very comfortable me going to Colombia to film this movie. And this is a problem with this TV series, that Netflix is producing, where they're showing the worst of the worst of our countries, and they're harming the damage that they do to the image of our countries is horrible. And instead of showing all the good stuff, which is more good than bad, but they focus on all this bad stuff, and they're glorifying evil, and they're promoting evil. And because of that, Jim's wife didn't want to send her husband there because she was afraid that something bad happened to him. So I said, okay, hold on a second, let me talk to Tim. Tim, I have a good news and a bad news. Good news is Jim Caviezel is in. Bad news, his wife saw Narcos Colombia on Netflix and she doesn't want him to go there. So what should we do? And he said, well, tell them if 30 ex-Navy SEALs will be enough to protect him. I passed message, and they say, okay. A few weeks later, we are in Colombia filming, but I noticed that half of those guys were not on set. And I was like, what's going on? Maybe, okay, maybe they're sleeping. This is the first day. I don't know. Maybe they went out last night. Second day, third day, first week, half of them are not there. Now, you have to understand that this is a big production. We have like 200 people on set. So it's very easy to be like, people not notice that 15 people are not there, right? But I'm the producer. I know exactly who is on set and who is not. Month and a half later, almost 2 months later, I'm reading this local newspaper that says that the Colombian government, federal police, arrested traffickers and rescued 200 children who were kidnapped for sexual exploitation in Cartagena, Colombia, kids from all over Latin America, traffickers who were not even from Colombia. And so I told Tim Ballard, look, you have to read this. This is like in the movie. And he smiled and he said, that was us. What? Yes, 15 guys from our group, the ones that we brought here. They noticed that, kids were missing. They did an operation underground with the federal police, and they gave all the credit to the Colombian government because we're still underground. So we need to be here for a couple more months to finish the film. So for security, we decided not to be, in the news. And I'm thinking like, wow, thank God for Jim Caviezel's wife to say no in the beginning. Because of that no, Tim was, had this idea of bringing these guys. Otherwise, these kids would never be safe. So imagine before the film was even finished, 200 children were rescued. Thanks be to God. Thanks be to Jim Caviezel's wives. Thanks be to Tim Ballard. Thanks be to these guys. But thanks be to the movie.
Amen. Amen. That's amazing. Praise be to God. We love to hear it. I know Our Lady is happy to see her children being rescued. Now, last question. Where can people learn more information, get connected? If they want to support the film and they want to support Tim and his efforts, how can people do so?
Go to soundoffreedommovie.com, soundoffreedommovie.com, and you can learn there how you can help us to continue be number one. As I mentioned before, we're number one in pre-sales. We're competing with Indiana Jones. Movie opens July 4th, Independence Day. We're celebrating freedom, right? Okay, with one hand we should. With the other hand, we should do something about it so we can bring freedom back to those children who, unfortunately, that day won't be able to celebrate freedom. So go and see the movie. Tell everyone that you see. Buy tickets. You can buy tickets right now for you, for your family, or through the program, Pay It Forward. You can buy tickets for other people that cannot afford to buy a ticket so they can see the film for free, thanks to your generosity. If we buy more tickets, we're going to acquire more theaters. We started with 100 theaters, then 200 theaters. Now we're close to 3,000 theaters. Wow. This is amazing. This is all because of you and the people that are listening, that are responding. And if more people buy tickets right now, don't wait until that week, because We want to guarantee that this film will stay there for many weeks. And if we achieve that success, then the media, secular media, everybody will be obligated to talk about this film and the topic of this film, so more millions of people can understand that this is real, is happening, and it's not, there's no more excuses to say, oh, I didn't know. Well, now you know. Now you know. What are you going to do to end child trafficking? If we come all together, I have no doubt that we will end this terrible reality. God's children are not for sale, my friend. God bless you, and I'll see you in theaters July 4th. Sound of Freedom.
Amen. Amen. And that's going to do it. God bless you. God love you. And Mary keep you. And make sure to go see that movie. I know I will be seeing it. I already saw it. And I can attest it is well shot. It's well acted. It's well scripted. And on top of all of that, it's a message that I think every single person in America and worldwide really needs to hear. God bless you. God love you. And we'll be right back with more.
God bless you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you very much. God bless.